All right, I think we're ready for legislative week in review.
Oh my God, he got it right. Okay, so for this week's Legislative Week in Review, I thought it was essentially it's all going to be focused around the National Defense Authorization Act, which is something that we've been kind of talking about now
Yep.
for a little bit. So as you can see here, it has passed the House on July 21st. And it actually passed the Senate as well. Again, just a brief reminder of what the N.D.A.A, the National Defense Authorization Act, fiscal year for 2021. So essentially, it's the appropriations that's set forth for the Department of Defense. And it deals with, obviously, their weaponry, their aircraft. It deals with military personnel. It deals with, the nuclear programs. So it's all of that, the intelligence. It's all bundled up in this National Defense Authorization Act. And again, remember that is it was I believe in 2011 that was when Obama signed the N.D.A.A that essentially allows for U.S. citizens to be detained indefinitely and without charges. All right, so just I wanted to look at the votes, right, for, excuse me, for the House and for the Senate. And so as you can see from the passage here in the House, it was pretty much, it was very Democrat heavy, obviously, but it was pretty bipartisan. It was not, so again, we can see how when it comes to more military spending, when it comes to just like funding the death rage that we have in this country, essentially, there's no problem with funding that. But when it comes to the unemployment extension, when it comes to the moratorium on evictions and foreclosures, all that kind of stuff, that's when they need to take their time and they really need to think it over. They really need to think over those things. But funding this stuff, definitely, without question.
Of course.
All right, so looking at the nays, the notable ones at least, right? So we have Barbara Lee, and if you look at, it wasn't just Democrats. This is just the ones that are notable that voted no on this. We have Ro Khanna, we have Ted Lieu, Tulsi Gabbard.
Jim McGovern, that's great.
Jim McGovern, yep. Let's see.
Hey, Joe Kennedy, hey, I'll give him credit.
Yep.
He may have voted.
Ayanna Pressley.
Catherine Clark in Massachusetts, I'll give her credit for that. That's great.
Yeah. But Joe Kennedy, remember he voted for the nuclear weapons, and he said, "Whoops, that was a mistake." So maybe this was a mistake as well.
I have. Well,
right.
I'm
Rashida
done with
Tlaib,
Bushes and Kennedys and yeah.
Ilhan Omar, Jerry Nadler. I can at least give him this, right?
Give him credit when it's due.
Yeah, exactly.
AOC, yeah.
AOC, and Pramila Jayapal, right? So again, there were other ones, and there were Republicans that actually voted no. But then I wanted to focus on specifically Massachusetts, because obviously we live in Massachusetts.
So I'm sorry, this is cynical. I'll say this real quick though. They do play the game where people that are up for re-election, etc., are allowed to vote a certain way if they know it's going to pass because they have enough other people. They absolutely play that game.
Right. Exactly. It's so that they can appear at least that they're on the right side of history.
Right before. Yeah.
So I think that we need to highlight, again, because we live in Massachusetts, it's important for us to hold our elected officials' feet to the fire. And I want to call out Seth Moulton because he is a warmonger, and he has been pushing for even the measures to pull out troops from Afghanistan. He was against that. So I want to note that even though he is a veteran, he is someone who has perpetually called for more actions of war. And I think that is deplorable on his end, and he should be ashamed of the fact that he is calling for more death at our hands and in our name.
Absolutely.
And look, Justin Amash, the libertarian, voted for it.
I know. I don't understand some of these votes. It's crazy. So again, if you are in Massachusetts and you see here that your representative voted yay, I would reach out to them and tell them that you are extremely disappointed in
Ayanna
that
Presley, my
decision.
God.
Well, she voted nay, so she
Oh, she
voted
voted
on the,
nay. Sorry. Okay.
yeah, she wrote it on the she voted
Oh,
on the
okay.
right
Sorry. I
side.
was looking at the nay list then too. Okay. All right. I was confused.
Yeah, and if you look at in California, I always say that California is, it's supposedly this progressive bastion of the world, right?
Not
And
anymore. Yeah.
look at how many yays you see there. Okay, how many yays? And that is very important that California, you have so many warmongers in California because that is a huge caucus. They hold a big chunk of the votes, right? They hold
Absolutely.
a lot of power over there. So with the number of delegates that they have. So again, I think it's important to highlight these things and reach out to your elected officials. And they are supposed to work for you. So you can let them know that they did not do right by this. So then, like I said, it did also pass in the Senate 2 days later. So, obviously it just passed with all the amendments that were put forth through the House. And again, the fact that it just passed so quickly without even like thinking about it, right? So again, pretty much down the line, right? Here, the notable no's are Rand Paul, John Kennedy, Mike Lee. So again, but there are other people. We can always count on Dianne Feinstein doing
Oh
the right
yeah.
thing, right? Yeah, at least Kamala Harris was smart on this one. Right? And she voted on the right side of this. Look at this. Chucky the Shoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course he's gonna vote yes for that because he just is like bloodthirsty. And we have Marco Rubio voted yes. And let's see who else.
I'm gonna bet on that Kamala Harris one that they did a head count and they knew she could get away with voting no.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that.
Exactly. Ted Cruz, of course, voted yay. And then Bernie Sanders voted no, just for anyone who is looking. And then for Massachusetts, Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren voted no. So
Yeah.
again, we can give credit where credit is due, right? And for all you people that thought that Amy Klobuchar is this, milk toast, she is just your next door neighbor, she also voted yes on this. Okay, so she would also be one of these warmongers. And even if it's not necessarily that they are ideologically in line with voting for this, it's the fact that they would vote yes because that is what the consensus is, right? That is what the Washington consensus. That is the approved
Right.
opinion. That is what makes them dangerous because that means that they are not willing to take the stand, the proper ideological stand and say and vote their conscience. Instead they're just going to vote for whatever it is that their donors or that the leaders are pushing for. So if you look at the bill, it's over 1,400 pages. So of course, I sat down and read that in like 2 seconds, right? But I feel like it's important to talk about these things or like the length of these things because obviously this is a massive bill, appropriations bill, but at the same time, these things are so, they make these bills super heavy. And these people they don't really read what's in these reports or in these bills, and then they just end up signing off on them, and that's what makes them even more dangerous. The fact that again that they don't even like have the audacity to read any of these things, right?
Yeah, folks could have. I mean, they could have anything buried in there, and they'd probably be able to get it passed.
Right. It's like, how are you going to tell me that these people, if supposedly if we made these amendments, from the House bill, and 2 days later they're already the bill's already passed in the Senate.
Right.
You're going to tell me they really went and read through all of these? There's no way. So they're not doing their due diligence, and
Well,
and it's because.
They did read the part about changing the Confederate names, on the bases, right? That's the whole controversy now. It's not the military spending as a whole, but it's just like, well, should we change the names of these bases that were named after Confederate generals, right? And
Well,
then Trump.
that's why supposedly this passing it passed veto proof through the Senate.
Okay.
So Trump can't veto this.
I mean, you can veto it, but it will just
No,
get
it's veto
overturned.
proof. Because it passed with the overwhelming majority.
Okay.
All right. So then this is the press release from the Armed Services Committee, right, from the Senate. And obviously they were very happy that this passed. And I just wanted to let everyone know, just in case you did not know, this was the total, $740.5 billion, okay, just for the DOD. I want people to understand that it's just for the DOD, okay, is almost $1 trillion.
Well, wait, no, it says
That's
$636 billion.
increase. That's the increase, isn't it?
No, that's a total.
Oh, that is
no, that's
total.
the total. Yeah,
well,
that's
not
the total.
including black budget items, because that would be separate. But,
right, exactly.
But
this is just what they tell us.
636 for DOD, and then 26 billion for Department of Energy, which is nuclear weapons, and 69 billion for overseas contingency operations. That's a nice euphemism, huh?
Right. But so again, this is just crazy, and they're still mulling over for this stimulus package, right? They're still mulling over if it's going to be 1 trillion or if it's going to be 3 trillion. No, it'll be somewhere in the middle. Oh no, we don't want to extend the unemployment because we don't want people to just stay at home, and we're going to put all these stipulations on how much, like what you can do to get this money that's supposed to be a universal basic income or whatever. But they have no problem just giving this money, this amount of money, which is more than the next 10 countries put together.
Right.
And they wanted to pass, like Jim has been saying, they wanted to reduce the budget by 10%, and that was denied. It wasn't even thought twice about.
I know.
All right, so then some of the things that are on here that I thought was kind of
especially this year, Daisy, where it's so obvious that there's such great needs for everything to support folks in the country, that just seemed, you would have thought in any sane country that would be a slam dunk. Okay, a little bit less, 10% less in the military, and then save everybody in the country. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, because
and even had they cut it by 10%, it still would have been more.
Yeah.
Than the next 10 countries. It's not as though this 10% would have put it as some sort of deficit.
Yeah, and they absolutely could have done it for like 1 year too. They could have said like, oh, all right, only this year's budget we're off by 10%.
Yeah, but if you did that, if you cut it by $10 billion, then you'd be admitting that there's some kind of correlation between military spending and domestic spending. And if you do that, then you're basically saying, gee, that's Tulsi Gabbard's argument, that God forbid we actually spend money domestically on people and their needs. So I think you don't want to draw any kind of parallel between domestic spending and military spending.
Right, because you're never going to hear that angle on NBC Nightly News or whatever the fuck it is that those shows are called.
Then people will make that association that when they see that one bomb being dropped that's worth $1 million, that geez, that could have taken care of like the local 20 school systems.
Right.
Yeah.
Like think about the one thing that always pisses me off is the Moab, right? With that bomb that the mother of all bombs that they dropped in Afghanistan. How much was that, and for what? Literally for what? That was for nothing. It was just like a show of how big my dick is. Literally, that's all it was.
It's absolutely a continuation of when little kids had firecrackers. They wanted to have that M80, right? Which is they want that bigger. It's still going on with these people in the Pentagon. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Disgusting. But and so I thought some of the things that I wanted to highlight from this was that one of the things that it is established establishing the Pacific Deterrence Initiative to focus resources on credibility gaps, support our allies and partners, and enhance transparency and oversight in the region. So we do have to remember that there is a lot of stuff going on in the South China Sea right now. There are a lot of war games playing right now. And I think, you know, a lot of people, at least from what I've seen, we don't really get a lot of traction when we talk about the China stuff. And I think that it is very important to talk about because obviously this is a part of their strategy. It's something that they are allocating funds for. So it is something that is prevalent in whatever strategy it is that they're doing. And I don't think that we should, you know, kind of turn a blind eye to that. And I don't think it's a mistake that there's so much China bashing going on right now. And even, you know, like one of the things that really just drives me nuts about the Hill Rising, is that Sagar is a China hawk, big time, you know, and he represents a swath of Americans that feel that, you know, it's the patriotic thing to do is to be against China. And obviously we're in the middle of a Cold War with China, and I think it's only going to get worse. And I think the fact that they are, you know, allocating funds for this, I think it's something that, you know, needs to be watched.
What about the TPP? Is Biden going to be in favor of that again, do you think?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh my God.
Or
Can we stick to
Yeah, we can
this?
stick to
something
this.
worse.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then the other thing that I thought was really important about this was the improving the 1033 law enforcement support program, which transfers excess military property to federal, state, and local enforcement agencies by ensuring that law enforcement have the right equipment and training.
Oh no, this is exactly what we're talking about. That's in the new N.D.A.A. Oh man, I think it's probably been the N.D.A.A. that's been the vehicle for this for a while, right? It's
Yes.
continuing.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. And then
it's
you have
again just a bigger market for the military-industrial complex. I mean, they all profit from that.
exactly. That's why I said all these wars do not work. It is just a mechanism for someone to make money off of the destruction of the lives and the homes of so many people.
Right.
So, and then we have the Intelligence Authorization Act, which Lord only knows what that is, right? And then I thought this was interesting. So establishing conditions for permanently basing U.S. equipment in host countries with at-risk 5G and 6G vendors. Again, this brings this back to China, right? Because there's this whole problem, this whole war that's going on with Huawei and 5G, and how the UK has been essentially forced to back out of any sort of business with Huawei, which is a Chinese company, the leader in 5G, right? They have been forced to back out of doing any sort of business dealings because of the US essentially threatening the UK if they continue to do any sort of business. So the fact that this is in here, again, I thought that was really important. We have expanding sanctions related to the Nord Stream 2 and Turk Stream pipeline projects. We already know that that is one of the main reasons why there is all this ramping up of tensions right now
Syria
with
and
Russia.
everything. Yeah,
right.
everything in
And,
Syria and all that. Yeah.
right, and even what was it that the Nord Stream 2? That's the Russian line, right? That's supposed to be Germany has a big part in this, and you know, the U.S. was threatening sanctions on Germany because if they went through with this, and Germany obviously they have continued to go through with this. But again, so these are all things that we need to be looking at because, you know, these things all they come to bear when we end up having these tariff wars, right? Because that is, or when we end up having other countries put sanctions on us, or that we put sanctions on other countries, you know, these things affect the everyday folk of these countries, and it will come back to haunt us. If we're not learning that yet, we will learn that, is that all these things will come back on us. It's blowback.
Absolutely.